everyone, it's Arlen Bento Jr. Welcome to the Shoot Parnell Golf Show. I'm here with my co-host, James Stemmer.
That's me.
That is you. And welcome to another episode. Hope you're enjoying our show. Before we get started, I want to make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment. It really helps out a lot. And we want to get back to you in the comments, and we'll bring them up in the show. Maybe questions you have, whether it's about, golf lessons, the Shoot Parnell system. Pro golf.
Arlen's
Barber, which is quite simple. Before we get started, right? I'd like to thank, we got a new sponsor. It's called Sailfish Turf. I don't know if they can see it. Pretty nice, right? So
I could use one of those.
I know, we all could, right? So they'll come in, they'll build a tour level putting green in your yard. You can do your whole yard, you can do whatever you want, whatever you need. They make great turf products. So if you're in an area and you want to do that, you can also, get a mat or small putting green or whatever you need. So
this would be good if you had a net in your backyard.
Oh yeah, if you wanted a net in your yard, or you just wanted, they come in different types of turf, right? So this is more of like a putting green style. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of this, like we're talking about TGL. I mean, how much did that cost to turf that thing?
Yeah.
So, but you can do some cool stuff with turf now. So thank you, Sailfish Turf. And check them out. There'll be a description in
Tell them we sent you.
Yeah, tell them we sent you. So anyway, how you doing? Everything going well?
Doing well.
Yep. Yeah. Everything down here is going great. Weather's been still good.
Ooh, beautiful weekend.
Beautiful. Hope everyone had a wonderful Easter holiday. And I did. Did you have any thing that you did for Easter?
Yeah, we went out of town. We went up to my wife's cousin's place up in Palm Bay. And
that's nice.
Got to see a lot of relatives we haven't seen in a while, so that was a good time.
Yeah, we were really lucky. I got my second youngest grandson got baptized on the beach, so that was kind of cool. And then my other two grandsons came over to visit, and I got to teach my first grandson how to play like egg fight. You ever play that as a kid, where you crack the eggs?
Yep.
Oh, he thought that was hilarious. So we did that. We played a bunch of things. It was a really nice day. So hope everybody had a good day.
We had after the kids had their Easter egg hunt, we had an adult Easter egg hunt.
Oh, that's always interesting.
Where they put little nippy bottles inside the plastic eggs and then hit them around.
Yeah.
And we got to go find those.
That's fun.
That was a good time.
Nippy bottles. I like that one. I haven't done that one. But nonetheless, the PGA Tour was in Hilton Head. We got the picture behind us.
Right there.
Yeah, it's on.
We were there. We took that picture.
Yeah, we did. But I played this course in a simulator. It's a really fun course to play in here, and it's got the famous lighthouse and the famous plaid jacket.
Yeah.
And Jim Nantz announces that tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because one, it does come after the Masters, but that's considered a big event. They even say it's an elite event. That's what they're calling. Yeah. A few tournaments. They're elite tournaments.
They're not the signature event, but they're the elite event. So they're like in between the regular tour and the members only kind of event.
Oh, is that what it is? Anyway, it was a good tournament.
Nice event.
Yeah, nice tournament. Another sudden death.
Not a bunch of low scores. I mean, the course is narrow. The greens are small.
Windy.
The wind picks up and it gets real interesting out there.
When we play it on the simulator, it's pretty tight too. There's a lot of trees, and you can see it on the golf course. It's kind of fun to watch a golf tournament where you know the course pretty well. Yeah. And so that was kind of cool.
And it's a Pete Dye course, which means
it's
you're going to have a tree in the middle of the fairway.
Yep, or something crazy.
You're going to have a bunker the size of your bathtub.
Railroad ties.
You're going to railroad ties here and there. So, yeah, he throws a little bit of everything at you.
He does. And in the end, Justin Thomas won in a playoff, and I watched the finishing hole, and it was just good solid golf. I mean, nothing crazy going on there. And then in the playoff, he hit it really close though. Like he made a birdie and won. So congratulations to him. Second place was someone that you said you kind of have not you don't know, but we know Novak.
Yeah, we know his father-in-law. I guess would be the word for it.
Yeah, you were telling me that's kind of a cool story.
Yeah, our good friend of mine.
Yep.
Randy Myers, who used to work he was down at the fitness center down at PGA National Resort.
And if people don't know, go back in time a little bit, Randy Myers was one of the pioneers in the golf fitness industry. Like he was one of the first guys that really was out there. I remember hearing about him, and a lot of the tour players were training, going to him, right?
And if you've got the Randy Meyer stretching pole, then you've got.
I forget what that was.
It was a telescoping stretching pole to get you to stretch and get
Oh,
down and ready to play.
is that the one? So it did extend, though.
Yeah.
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 It was. Oh, that's when you put over your neck and do all your shoulder and your rotational stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot that was him.
His daughter is married to Andrew Novak, who lost the playoff, came in second place.
So that's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're good friends with Randy,
Yeah.
or you knew from over the years,
Yeah.
and so his daughter's married to Novak.
Yeah.
I thought he played well. I mean, he just ran out of gas down the stretch a little bit.
He looks real good.
Yeah.
I mean, Thomas shot 61 the first.
He looked really good. Yeah.
That's kind of
hard to beat.
Hard to beat.
Yeah. It was a pretty good field too. There were a lot of like good names in there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, it's a great tournament to watch. It's just, it's always, I mean, it's not fair to say this. I know it's not fair, but the Masters is such a hype thing, right? It's just like such a, this one almost kind of like, I feel like it's a little bit not as much because after the Masters, but
everybody's taking a mental a sigh.
Especially the guys that were like in Augusta, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them weren't playing in this, right? But it was still a good field. I mean, give Justin Thomas credit.
You had Thomas. You had Berger. You
Yeah.
had Scheffler.
Scheffler played, yeah.
McNealy, I think he also played at Augusta.
Yeah, no, there was quite a bit.
So there was quite a Jordan Spieth.
Yeah,
was there as well.
There's big names there.
It was a pretty good group. Shane Lowry.
Yeah, and Lowry's was like not that far out. He kind of got stuck, I think, in the middle. He got trouble with some holes there. You know what's interesting is so Justin Thomas did not have a great Masters, right?
No, he did not.
Yeah. So for him to come back and win, so okay, this is just like a absolute perfect golf story, right? For people that play. And you know what's interesting? There's so many people that watch these YouTube videos, whether it's, instructional videos or my Instagram account. And I forget sometimes, that a lot of people don't really have the golf knowledge in their heads. A lot of them think they do. And if this is you, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, right? And, but after coaching golf for 28 years and being around great, famous players, great amateur players, professionals, I mean, so many different levels, right? The experience that I have and things that I talk about and things that I share, you'd be shocked, right? Like how people attack people over like things that they don't understand, right?
Yeah.
And so I always tell them they just don't understand the game. And what Justin Thomas just went through is exactly what I talk about. Like you can have not a great week at the Masters and then just kind of wash it off. And I think he did play better on like the weekend, like he got a little sharper, but obviously come back and win on the PGA Tour, which is so hard to do.
Yeah. And
especially after a Masters, but that's just how golf is sometimes,
Yeah. And sometimes, the course fits your eye or there's just
a new week.
Things that work out.
Yeah, you come out and you're struggling and you shoot 61. Like, where does that come from?
Yeah.
Where does 61 come from?
Yeah, you say, where was that last week?
Well,
and it's the way it goes.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because he wants to win the Masters so bad, right? Masters is like double the fairway size of like Sea Island. It's got to be. I mean,
much wider.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So sometimes, like you said, a player's eye, like for him, maybe having like a golf course that is much more, I don't know, optically off the tee demanding, because you don't have as much wide open space. Maybe that was enough for him to kind of dial in his focus and kind of, hit the ball a little tighter because he kind of has to, versus the Masters where I think guys are just trying to bomb it out there so that they can, hit shorter irons into the green.
So what would you suggest to an amateur who gets to a golf course and, the fairways look narrow?
Right.
What should go through their mind? How should they try to process this to keep the ball in play?
First, we have to kind of clarify the level of play, right? Mm-hmm. So, I would say most players shoot 100, okay? 90 to 100. That's most recreational guys that have been playing for a while. So when you play a narrow golf course, right, you're going to want to try to hit your driver because, unless it's like a super short course, but it's probably not, right? It's just narrow.
Yeah.
It's really picking the start lines. So as an example, if it's a narrow golf course and you're like a little bit of a fade miss person, you should move all the way to the right side of the tee box, kind of aim down the left side because it's narrow. That gives you a little bigger window to adjust for your start line and your miss.
Okay.
Whereas if you start dead straight and you aim dead straight, your miss is going to put you in the trees really quick, right?
Yeah. And if that's your normal
ball flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I would. And if you're the opposite, like if you're a big draw player, I would start on the left side and kind of take my target line a little bit down the right side. So if I too miss a little much more of a hook than a fade, because that's kind of your tendency, then that'll open up the golf course a little bit. I mean, obviously, you wish you had the swing that could start the ball on line and not move a lot. But if you don't, those would be my two suggestions that would help. And you also have to realize, too, that you might have to hit shorter clubs off the tee to get you in position. And that'll leave you with longer second shots and or, shots where you can't reach a green because you have to hit a club off the tee that would keep you in play if your long club wasn't working. So I always tell players when you play a narrow golf course, just be prepared to get up and down a lot. Yeah. Like, if you don't have a swing that puts it in play, right? I mean, tour guys, it's so different, right? Because tour players don't really miss their lines hardly ever. They might miss their shapes. Like they might catch it a little off and they'll spin it or they'll do something. But we were doing, we're out on the golf course with George. And I don't know if you saw it on the channel, but we have this new thing called, we call it golf cart chatter.
It's fun.
It's good.
It's a good little. It's
a good little bit, yeah. And so that's like a spinoff of the Scruffy to Scratch, right? But we were out there, and he's getting really good with his driver. But our Saints golf course is wide open, and I was telling him it's so hard because now he's hitting the driver so good, and he's long, and he ends up with all these like little shots, like 80 yards into par fours, right? And he's duffing them. Right, so because before he wasn't hitting that good, and he thought he was playing better, and he's hitting it good. He expected his game to like drop, but now he starts struggling. And then we were working on it, and he was swinging too hard and trying to hit it too perfect, and it wasn't working. So I was trying to explain to him yesterday, just like talking about like people that play hard golf courses, you have this feel going, but you still have to keep everything intact, right? And so he just kind of didn't have that, but he did good yesterday. He had a lot of his, I wouldn't say chips and pitches. They were more like what I call approach, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 yards where you're not like taking full cracks.
Yeah, but you still got, you're not hitting it.
And you got to,
you need to get it up in the air and
land it somewhere. But if you play a narrow golf course, it's tough if you don't have control of the golf ball. But that would be my suggestion.
How many of those same amateurs that shoot between 90 and 100 normally actually hit their 3-wood better than their driver?
So I would say a lot.
My driver might be straighter than my 3-wood. I don't know.
Well,
I got a better idea where it's going.
So it's interesting because if you asked that question 10 years ago, I would say a lot. But the drivers have gotten so much better now with the adjustable heads and the different weights and the bigger heads. So sometimes I think the driver still is as accurate for most players. But funny, we were just talking about this yesterday. So again, back to George, right? Doesn't hit his 3-wood ever. Doesn't know how. He knows how to swing. It just doesn't work for him. Doesn't know where it's going. Well, no. But I was telling him, as you get better, some of these holes, you're better off hitting the 3-wood and giving yourself 100 yards or 100, like a gap wedge instead of blasting it. Correct. And having these lob wedges and half shots in. And I was telling him, you'll learn that over time, but you'll never get that feeling until you get a little bit more competitive. Because when you play some competitive golf, you realize that the tee shot is just positional, and the second shot is basically orientation to get it on the green. Your first job is, until you can hit 14 greens or more, you shouldn't really be pin seeking. Mm-hmm. There's too many people that play golf and they just pin seek everything. They're not that good. Just get it to
most amateurs are that way.
They aim at the pins.
They pull their rangefinder out. They look at it and go, oh, it's 148 yards to the flag.
And they fire it.
Where I'm going.
And you could watch them hit 100 balls and they couldn't drop, half of them inside 42 to like a 8 yard, like forget 30 to 50 foot circle. because the pros have a hard time doing that once they get past certain. So I always tell people, like, your goal is to try to drive. If you could drive it in play 10 times and no crazy penalties, and you can get on the surface for birdie out of 18 holes 10 times and keep your putts in that lower, like 30, 32 max, you're going to shoot in the 70s. And if the numbers go up, in other words, you hit, 7 fairways, 7 greens, and your putts go up to 36. So that's you got to add 3, 6, and another 4. So now you're going to shoot middle 80s. It just statistically, it just works like that. So it's really important if you want to drop your score down. A lot of people out there just trying to bust drive, like hit it hard because they think that's going to give them a shorter club to get in. And again, in theory, that should work. But if you're not shooting in the 70s, it's not working. Yeah. So you might want to here's an example. So let's say you were really good with your 8-iron, right? And so somewhere between that 7, 8, 9 range is your zone. So when you look at a tee shot, your idea should be, well, what do I got to hit here to get it in that area? And you've got a 30-yard, 40-yard window there, right? So, you look at a hole and it says 340, and you think to yourself, okay, so what do I got to get to 140? I need a 200-yard shot. But everybody's blasting driver. Yeah. And sometimes that driver, where you hit it, gets narrower, right? Sometimes fairways. So what do you hit 200? You could have hit, whatever. You could have hit
4 hybrid. You could have hit a 5
fairway wood. Yeah.
7 wood, or
just put it in that. So what if you had all day, you had 10 to 12 8-irons all day? Your feel and tempo.
I like my chances if that was the
The more you hit that club all day, the more likely you're going to hit some quality shots. And so that's something I always try to tell tournament players, yes, I'd like you to go out and shoot 65, right? And to shoot 65, you got to be all cylinders, right? But
or you got to quit after
right.
14 holes.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. That's what I would do. Or if you were to be able to control the ball and hit it from 200 or 180 to 240 and hit it more accurately and give yourself the same swing all day, you could actually have a really good day. I've watched mini tour players that I've coached that have gone, that'll shoot 67, 68 pretty easily with that strategy, and they never follow it the second day.
Wow.
They always feel like, man, I could have shot 62 today if I would just hit my driver.
If I just hit driver and gone to a 9-iron instead of an 8-iron.
I try to tell mini tour players, look, especially the ones that are trying to get maybe sponsored or find money. I'm like, look, if you go out and show me 10 tournaments where you're shooting 4 or 5 under, every round, 3 under, 4 under, 1 under, you're always under, it's a lot easier to get a sponsor. You keep going to tournaments shooting 65, 75, missing a cut, making no money. All that means is that you're erratic. Yeah. And before you can become like a PGA type golfer, you better have control of the ball. And that's what kind of a lot of people learn in their, junior golf and high school, college. That's where you kind of pick up all these things. But, for a lot of people that watch and they watch people struggling with drills or, I coach a lot of high handicap people, right? And I show a drill and people think the drill is the worst drill they've ever learned to, man, how can you be, that's a waste of money. I would never pay for that. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm like, calm down, man. It's brand new player. There's feel versus real. It's not hard to put the club on plane and get the impact. It's hard when you're older or your body doesn't move around. So that's kind of how I would approach some of those things. But anyway, you said your driver's struggling a little bit, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. High, low?
Yeah. Right, left, don't know which way it's going sometimes.
Well, we'll get in the simulator after the show tonight and see what you got going on. Yeah. I saw something today which I thought was interesting, and it's funny because I've been kind of leaning towards this. So, how I think for you and me, and I've been coaching it this way: driver, ball positions forward in stance, and your head should be back a little, right? Because you want to try to hit up on the ball a little bit. Well, what they're saying now is with the new technology, they're starting to see the better players in the world not hitting up on the ball. They're actually coming in the ball. The driver's coming in slightly down.
Trapping it kind of like you would with a 3-wood or a 5-wood.
But on a tee, though.
But having it on the tee.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I was watching one of the top coaches in Europe on somebody else's channel. I forget which one it was now. I forgot the name of the coach. But they were talking about how when you play too far forward, the club starts swinging to left and the face is open because the path. So the player has to swing way more inside out to get the club to work, right?
Okay.
Versus like your swing, like I remember you having a lot more over the top. It doesn't look like that anymore. But even today, when we do a little session, you're going to try to like watch your ball position, because if you have it too far forward, you could almost make it impossible to get the club where you want it. So it should be, inside your lead heel.
Mm-hmm.
So if your foot's like this, it's inside this heel. But a lot of people play it like on their toe, That's too much. And then
Too far out front.
And then they're saying that what they're seeing on tour is it's another inch or so back. So it's like almost 1 or 2 inches. So when you look at setup, it's almost like where the fairway would be, or where I would coach fairway wood. So I haven't really studied that part of it. It's hard, like, for most people, head back, hitting up on it's important, right?
Yeah.
But I understand like the technology. But this is like an example of if that goes out and everybody starts coaching it, and a lot of amateur players are going to just hit burners because they can't make the move the pros make anyway.
Yeah.
So the data of a pro hitting down on it with 130 mile an hour club head and 170 ball speeds, right? It's kind of like 7 degrees of compression with 100 mile an hour 7-iron, but nobody else in the world can do that except for that guy.
Yeah.
I ever tell you the story about compression and data?
No. So
compression is the angle of the club when you hit the ball, right? And most tour players could have shaft leans of like 7 degrees. So their shaft is much more forward when they hit the ball, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the golfing public thinks that that's the secret to having good ball strikes. Like, I got a shaft lean, I got to do all this stuff.
Keep my hands ahead of the ball.
Right.
Okay.
And so then they ran this data survey of the best club players in America. So these were club champions from all the top golf courses, like 100 of the best courses. So they're all plus handicaps, former college, really good players, right? Very little shaft lean, like 1 degree, 2 degrees. They weren't. In other words, they're not doing this.
Yeah.
But they also only averaged their drive, I think, was 263 or something like that, whereas the pros are like 280 something. So on average, like 290, whatever it is, 287. And so they were just saying that when your club head speed isn't as fast, you don't need to have as much shaft lean. You still have to compress the ball, but it's just not as much shaft lean.
Yeah.
And I think that was screwing up a lot of people. They'd come for a lesson and said, I've been working really hard at getting my hands ahead of the ball. And all it does is open the face and create all kinds of like weird stuff. So if you're watching this and you don't hit a 200 yards.
How many people do?
Yeah. And and another thing too, I coach so many players that think 7 is supposed to be your 150 club. That's wrong. It is what it is.
If 150 clubs, your one is what you.
Yeah, and those are my older guys watching out there. It's like if you hit 135, but you hit it dead on the square of the face and it flies right to the target, that's your club. Like, play your yardage. Yeah. Don't be greedy and force it, because then if you force your 7 and you close the face or you swing too hard, whatever, and then what happens when you hit a 5? You can't even get it airborne because you're doing all this weird stuff. Like let the clubs do their job. And half the time we're not going to hit the target anyway. So
some of that just goes back to one of the last rounds I played with my father. He was in his late 80s, and we got to a par 3, and there was water in front. And he had 135 yards, and I handed him his 7-wood. I said, "Here, 7, 135 yards." Well, I know. It's your 7-wood.
Didn't want to, did he?
No, he was going to hit an 8-iron, by God. And I'm like, "Yeah, you don't swing fast enough anymore. You're not going to get it there with your 8-iron. Watch me." Well, after about the 3rd ball in the water, he finally took the 7-wood and he knocked it right in the middle of the green. And he just looks at me and I'm like, "See?" And he goes, "But it's not supposed to be like that." I said, "Yeah, it is. It is now. That's the reality of what you hit 150 yards.
So it's funny you say that, right? So I think the last time I went out with George to play, doing our golf cart chatter thing, and I kept coming up on shorts. I hit great drives, and I'm going to hit wedge here in short. And I said, I'm going to hit a great drive. I hit another good drive. I got another wedge. Now, these are usually clubs I hit really close, right? And they're coming up a hair short. And I keep saying, "Oh, it must be the wind." And then finally he goes, good gracious. Like, or, no, he didn't say that. He didn't say good gracious. Whatever he said. He probably swore. He said, hit a damn 9-iron, would you? Like, stop. And I hit it right by the pin. And he's like, you see? Like, you just think you hit it, like, further. Those days are gone.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they hit it further than it, or they remember what they did when they were in their 20s.
Or 30s or 40s or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, if you're coming up short but you're making good contact, right, you don't want to change your swing, especially when you're playing.
Yeah.
And just pick the right club. But I tend to do that all the time because I still have that in my head, like your dad. Like, I still think I hit 7 when I used to hit it. And I can make the 7 go, like in the simulator or on a range or stuff. Like, I can make it go more, but that's not where I play. Like, I don't play in that kind of. I mean, I need to actually pick up my pace a little bit when I play because I tend to, like, kind of slap it around a little bit too much. But I'm working on it. So watch the channel; it's really fun. We go over a lot of stuff. So what's coming up next week? You said they're going to play a team event. Zurich.
The Zurich event at.
Is it English Turn? Is it still an English Turn or it's someplace else? It's in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, it's in New Orleans. Yeah.
So we don't know where exactly it's at.
Yeah, which is always good. I know Emerald used to do a
cooking show for
the wives.
Emerald Lagasse, if you don't know who that is.
Wives and girlfriends of the players. He used to do a cooking.
Promoted stuff.
A cooking thing for them.
I bet you they love that.
Oh, I bet it was awesome.
Yeah, how'd you like to do that? It'd be fun.
Yeah. You get home the next week and your wife's got this really nice meal.
Have you been to New Orleans?
Long time ago.
Yeah, I haven't. I've never been. I've always, but you hear all the stories. I'm sure there's still. I mean, it's an interesting city, but it's kind of like doesn't sound like it's so good anymore. Like a little bit funky, but I don't know. But I'm sure for the golf tournament, it's still fun. There's great food, great people, and I don't know this tournament off the top of my head. But you said they play like
it's a team. It's a 2-person team event, and they kind of play.
Kind of like Ryder Cup, like you play different like
alternate shot, best ball.
Oh, they do change it up.
I think they changed it up.
And is it by points or scores?
Scores.
Oh, and it's 4 days of that.
It's 4 days of that.
Yeah. Man, I didn't even know that.
And the defending champions are McIlroy and Lowry.
Ooh, so that's a good team, and they've been playing pretty good.
And they've been doing well.
I'm sure they're going to show up this week after taking over.
Yeah.
I mean, is Rory going to play after winning the Masters?
Yeah, Rory's going to play. He's going to play in this.
So that's going to defend his title.
He might wear his green jacket for the first ring.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Imagine playing in your green jacket.
So now the green jacket, they get it for a year, right?
Yep. They're supposed to bring it back.
Some guys have got in trouble they didn't or something.
Well, one of the guys, infamously, that kept his green jacket.
Patrick Reed.
Gary Player did too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Gary Player kept his. All the way back in South Africa, and basically told them out, if you want it, you can go get it at someone else. And they never went. But they said, if we see you wearing it outside the grounds here, you'll know you're never coming back.
Whoa.
So they said, you might have taken the green jacket, but it best not leave your house. Unless you bring it back here to wear it.
So their thing is they don't want people to wear it out and about. Yeah. It's only when they come back to Augusta.
The champion gets to wear it that year, and the next year when he gets there, they hang it up in your locker, and it stays there. And you wear it.
And you come back. You come back
to Augusta National.
And you are a member of the club.
You're an honorary member.
So you can come back and play and enjoy the club, which a lot of people don't know, but that thing isn't open that much.
No.
Like people think like they don't just like after Masters like open, come play.
Closed most of the summer.
Yep.
Closed during the really hot months of the summer.
Yep.
Closed when it gets stupid cold out.
Yeah. So how many? I mean, what would you guess Augusta is open a year? 3 months?
Yeah, maybe 4.
Max, right? Yeah. That's why it's such a hard ticket.
You gotta get your playing in when you can.
Yeah.
Oh, and this year, Augusta has had they've had a rule where you can't resell your tickets. If you've been someone that's had your tickets in your family for however long, and what a lot of people do is when they win that raffle, that lottery, and they're able to buy practice round tickets or tickets for specific days of tournament play. They're there for like the morning and they get their stuff done, and then when they walk out and they leave,
they sell it.
They'll sell it. Then that person will come in, and this year they started cracking down on that.
Oh, so the ticket's only good for one entry.
And there's talk that next year they're really going to crack down on it because people are selling them. You've got third parties that are getting them and selling what's normally $100 practice round ticket for $2,000.
Right.
And the Masters says no.
That's not what they want.
We're going to stop this.
So that's going to be interesting because that is a whole business now. I mean, there are people that have lots of master tickets and they sell them. They won't. It's really hard to get them every day, but they'll like have corporate companies will buy like 8 tickets for Thursday, and they'll send 8 of their people in, and then the next day it could be a whole different company, and they'll pay because it's a hot ticket. It's, it's like what's the value? Is it 2,000, 4,000, 10,000, whatever? Yeah. And that'll be
especially
interesting.
If it's a client that you want, and you're going to make a heck of a lot more than that coming back. Guess who makes the most money?
No idea.
Over there.
No idea. The concession.
John Daly.
Because
parks himself at a Hooters down the street from
I've heard about that.
Lane,
yeah.
And sells autographs, shirts, hats, balls, beer cans, who knows what all.
He signs them. He's out there too, right?
2024.
Yeah.
He sold $780,000 worth of merchandise.
Wow. And there's nothing they can say about it. What are you?
He's not a Hooters.
What are you going to tell him? Nothing you can say about it.
It's not against even Masters merchandise. It's his stuff.
Yeah, he's not selling Masters, right?
He's just there because everybody else is there.
That should have been a tournament that he should have won.
Oh yeah.
You would have think that with his putting, with his ability to drive it, but I think a lot of that time he was going through, where he had the shakes and all the stuff, he never got there. But that would have been one of his.
It would have been interesting.
Well, it would have been interesting if he was a champion and he had got to come back every year and he'd have to get all his he had to get himself together. He can't show barefoot with a beer can and putting left-handed on the green with his jacket.
Can
you imagine?
And imagine what the Champions dinner that next year would have been like.
That probably would have been okay. I think he would have been okay there. I just think that his mannerisms and personality. Like now, yeah, like give me wings and beers and Diet Cokes.
Wings, beer, and Diet Coke.
Well, that's going to be it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed our show. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you leave a comment, it helps so much. So even leave a comment. You can tell us how much you like the show.
You can be mean to me if you want.
You can be mean. Don't be mean. Don't be mean to Jimmy. He's a good guy. We try really hard. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.